diena. Ačiū Jums už galimybę čia prezentuoti. Mano lietuvių kalba ne taip yra, dėl to tiesiu angliškai. Okay. First of all, let's have a look at the agenda. Oh no, I'm present myself, so I'm Piontek from Libris. I'm account manager and responsible for Eastern Europe and the CIS countries, the former Soviet countries. A quite interesting region, I can say. Very different countries, very different approaches, also from the librarian's perspective. My colleague Tim Martin Sievert, he'll present SFX today. This is our link resolver, and also some live sites of Primo. So if you have technical questions, you can ask him and me, of course. We're very delighted to have Mandy Stewart from the British Library accompanying us. And she'll tell us about the implementation of Primo at the British Library, SFX and Olive at the British Library too. Okay, let's have a look at the agenda. So we'll start with a short corporate update. What's new with Libris? What are our plans for the future? What do we see? What do we see in the library world that we should react to? How do we do that? And then we'll continue with SFX, so our link resolver system, which is quite interesting also for the academic consortium with Vieta. After that, I'll present Primo to you. So, in general, in comparison to some competitor systems, and also its general background. So, what is a discovery system? What are prominent features of modern discovery systems? And how does Primo comply these features? After that, we'll have a short coffee break. Coffee and water and some snacks should already be prepared by the cafeteria. Then we'll continue with the presentation of Mandy Stewart, so Primo, SFX and Olive at the British Library. We'll have a look at some live sites of consortia and also of your sites. And in the end, of course, questions and answers. So feel free to ask questions, and you may also interrupt us if you have something very important to say, so please stand up and ask. I invite you to take some informational, some information material about Primo, about BX, our recommendation system, and some others, but we'll talk in depth about what this all is. So let me start with a short corporate update. Knowledge is power, that's what Francis Bacon said, and we are very convinced that in order to disseminate power and knowledge, libraries have to follow the newest trends in library technology. And we're always collaborating with libraries in order to find out what these new ways might be like. As I just said, we're from Libris, and we are working with libraries in order to develop library systems, discovery systems, digitization systems. Corporate update. So who are we? Our customers, let's pick just an example, are 42 national libraries in 82 countries, so pretty much worldwide. We'll see another slide which shows that most of our customers are in Europe and Northern America, actually. But we are also developing our business in Asia, in Southern Africa, and of course approaching the Russian and Russian-speaking market, the CIS countries. And I can say business in these countries is quite different, so we are happy to move onwards. Our clients are national institutions, research institutions, academic institutions, universities, and also some corporate research institutions. For example, pharmaceutical companies. I'd say our main topics that we address are resource management solutions, so how to manage the resources of a library or of an academic institution in general. Secondly, it's discovery, so how to bring these resources that you have and disseminate them, how to make the user use your resources in the best way possible. Discovery is always bundled with delivery, so it's not just searching for material, not just finding what I was looking for, but also getting it. So to get my book, to get my full text if it's an electronic resource. And last but not least, digital preservation solutions. So the world becomes digital and more digital every day. Therefore, it's quite important to think about preservation, so really long-term preservation. How to make sure that digital and digitized material is still accessible 20 years from now. As I already said, we have a global customer base in North America and Europe. You can find most of our customers, quite many in Northern America. That's because we acquired Endeavor, an American company, and also their clients. As you can see, also in Asia, in Central and South America, our customer base is growing. Some examples you can see at the bottom. For instance, Oxford libraries, Yale, Shanghai University, and so on. Some selected national libraries, Library of Congress, and also the Russian State Library, the National Library of Russia, Austrian National Library, Finland, and the Royal Library of Denmark. This is quite an important and interesting example because they have a quite developed consortial structure in Denmark. We'll see some examples from the Royal Library of Denmark afterwards, so this might be quite interesting for you. Academic libraries, Harvard, MIT, Oxford, and KU Leuven, Leiden University, ETH, also very interesting, quite interesting Primo that they have set up there. We'll have a look at their side as well. Consistent growth, I really want to mention this. So we're not taking leaps, we are growing consistently, as you can see. And we always invest in new developments. So as you can see, we started with Arlif some almost 20 years ago, 16 years ago, and slowly developed our business towards the electronic market. So SFX, quite prominently in red, that you can see there, will present this product to you today. And afterwards we approached the digital market with Rosetta. This is our digital asset management and long-term preservation system. Some of the products are encircled by cloud, small cloud. What does that mean? They are in the cloud, so they are hosted. They aren't run locally anymore, but rather in a central cloud. We'll talk about that too. Some of our solutions, or rather all of the solutions that you can see here, you don't have to remember all of them, although I think you, or at least the academic consortium here in Lithuania, uses almost all of them. First and foremost, it's RLEF. It's our integrated library system we began with, so this is still our flagship. RLEF is still developed and is still one of our strongest products. Then the link resolver in the middle, you can see that in the electronic column. As well as Rosetta, of course, in the digital column. And our new flagship, it's Alma. This is a resource management system for just about everything that the library might have. So print collections, electronic collections, as well as digital ones. And on top of all of these solutions, we have Primo. So Primo is really the interface to the world. Whatever you might have, print, material, electronic, digital, Primo can handle all of them by means of the so-called normalization platform. We'll talk about that, and some of you already know the interiors of Primo, interstance, and also Primo Central and BX, but those are, I wouldn't say they are part of Primo, but in most cases they are used in connection, in conjunction with Primo. Our customer base by product, this is a somewhat older chart, so already almost a year old. Some of the numbers have changed. For example, the Primo number, meanwhile, we have acquired more than 1,900 customers for Primo. Quite a strong customer base with RLEF and quite a strong customer base with SFX, as you can see. Some of the larger products like Alma and Rosetta are slowly climbing up the stairs, as you can see. Some words about the market share leadership. So in comparison to other competitors who develop similar products, we see that having a look at the customer base worldwide, the integrated library systems, for example, there we share the market with 39%, and we're very keen to state that the recommender service is completely ours. So none of our competitors has developed a recommender service yet. So there we have a market share of 100%. But also, as far as digital preservation is concerned, we're above 50%. Okay, let's talk a little bit about market trends. So what do we see if we have a look at the market? We see, of course, that the world is becoming digital. So digitalization projects are evolving and emerging everywhere. Hence, digital repositories and dealing with digital repositories, as well as the question of long-term preservation. So I already mentioned the question, what will become of our digital material in 50 years from now? And we still will be willing to use it in 100 years from now for research purposes, or for technical, for scientific purposes. So this is quite an important question. Also, the internet that drives user expectations and drives just about everything. So we can really state modern systems have to be web-based. For example, the Primo discovery system is of course web-based, also as far as its administrational interface is concerned. So not just the user interface, also the interior is internet driven and also driven by the technologies that the internet provides us with, presents us with, such as social networking, web technologies, Web 2, JavaScript, and so on and so forth. We call this the Google or Facebook generation. This generation is used to use things in a quite advanced and quite maybe different way than things used to be 20 years ago. The world is becoming mobile, of course, so everyone's running around with an iPhone or with something similar. So the products have to mirror this trend as well. And libraries are to provide more services. That's also quite a new approach to the library. It's not just the building that I go to that might have been the model some decades ago. But now we really see that the library is a service provider. So this is something that has to be rethought. Also a trend, what we see, I already mentioned that, what do the users want? It's really the internet approach, so searching in Google. And some surveys show that quite many students are used to search their resources via Google. So some students don't use their homegrown library system that often, as they use Google. So a discovery interface, of course, has to be fast, intuitive, easy to use, just as Google is, but it has to be geared towards the library world. So it must be a library Google. Google alone can't help us. It isn't bringing us any further. A one-stop search, so really having all your material at your fingertips and not going through different interfaces. 2 clicks to full text, so I'm not just searching my metadata, I'm not just searching my title, my author, but I also do want to get my material, so find it and get it, discovery and delivery. Also modern infrastructure, I already mentioned that, so everything that is web-based, everything that is connected to the web world must be, of course, part of the discovery system. Another problem that we see is that we have different silos for everything. So for print material, for printed resources, for electronic material, and also for digital material. This is, of course, something that, well, has developed over the years, and we can't change it just like that. But it is something that has to be addressed. So we have to think about the unification of all those silos, because in the end, there are only library research resources and not printed, electronic or digital resources. We have to have access to all of them via one interface. And our strategy, while dealing with these trends, is first and foremost to improve user-targeted services, so how to address the user, how to see the user's needs, and how to involve and introduce the things that we have found out about the user into the products. Okay, optimized total cost of ownership. What does that mean? That's, for example, well, thinking about the cloud model. For example, sharing costs. Thinking about new consortial structures and so on. Third, it's digitization and preservation. Digital collections, cultural heritage, research data. So preservation is not just something for national libraries or for archives, but just as well for academic institutions, of course, as far as research data are concerned. And I'll say a few words about the next generation system that we are developing right now. It's Alma. It's really a unified resource management, so you don't need an integrated library system and an electronic resource system. as well as a digital resource management system. Alma is envisaged to address all of those silos. Okay, improve user-targeted services. This is of course about Primo. So it's a library Google, a one-stop search where I can search my print, electronic and digital material alike. So a unified discovery above the silos. This is not replacing the silos yet, but this is replacing the discovery, the end point, the user point, the end user access to all those materials. For example, at the British Library, and we'll hear about that in I think an hour from now. Mandy will talk about Primo, the implementation of Primo, some quite interesting semantic search approaches with Primo at the British Library. Primo is of course also mobile. I talked about the world becoming mobile, so not just the world becoming digital, the world becoming internet. No, the world is becoming mobile. And therefore Primo of course is as a default always accessible via mobile devices. Optimized total cost of ownership. That means central shared service implementation. So consortia doing implementation, doing services, doing training, and really developing also the business model, of course, and the library market. This is all about consortia and outsourcing services. So this is really a trend that we have to reply to and comply with. It's introducing the cloud to the world. Cloud, so we're surrounded by cloud services. Our email accounts, of course, and Dropbox, and so on and so forth. And we have 2 data centers in Chicago and Amsterdam, and another one in Singapore also envisaged to house some cloud solutions. For example, Alma, the unified resource management, which is accessible and available only in the cloud. But also, for example, Primo, the discovery system, it's also already in the cloud, so you can choose whether to have it locally, as it is the case in Lithuania right now, or in the cloud. Digitization and preservation, this is about Rosetta. This is quite a new product, well, in comparison with Aleph. We see we need to manage digital material, so just about everything is becoming digital or exists in parallel, exists in printed form or somehow a more physical form, and in a digital form alongside the physical one. So how to address these needs and also the immense and imminent growth of digital material over the years. This is also some of the older charts. This is from 2011, and you can imagine, well, the amount of digital material by now. So it's really an extraordinary growth, and one can say it's an exponential one. Also, storage media changes. Nobody uses the storage means we used to use 10 or 20 years ago, and we still don't know where we're heading. So we haven't found the final means of storing material yet. Also, formats. It's still the same question. So what will become of PDF or some doc formats in 5 years from now? Or maybe in a few months from now. So if you know the story of Macromedia, for example, it can turn out quite worse. So some formats might run out of use quite soon. Okay, some words just about Rosetta. If you're interested, we have some brochures. It's asset management and preservation, so not just managing, not just storing the material away in a repository, but also thinking about digital preservation, so how to try to always have the newest format. Therefore, there's a knowledge base, the so-called format library, where everyone can contribute to, and thus ensure data integrity and access to data over time. Okay, last but not least, Alma, so the unified back office, the next generation system. What is it? Primo is unified discovery, but the next step is really replacing the silos by horizontal workflows. So we haven't the vertical silos anymore, but horizontal workflows like preservation, resource and data and metadata management, be it something from the electronic world or from the printed world. We always have to manage those resources, and acquisitions, also selection of materials, and so on and so forth. So, in a few words, this is Alma. This is the idea behind Alma. Some consortia and some competitor customers have already moved to Alma. As you can see, some of them had Millennium systems. Some of them had also Aleph systems before, so our homegrown systems. They're just upgraded. Well, I have to say, Alma is right now in at an intermediate stage, I would say. So we started in America, we started in England, and now we are approaching the German-speaking markets, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I would say further developing Alma. So Alma is not ready for the rest of the European market yet, but I would say in 5 to 10 years from now, we are ready to move Alma, let's say to Poland, to Greece, and also to the Baltic states. Thank you. So this was the corporate update, and we continue with Martin Sievert and SFX. Yeah, perhaps the